Hello and welcome back for part 2. This time we will discuss what ER modeling is about, and we'll take a look at an example of what an ER diagram might look like. So the first part, what are we even doing here? The purpose is to create a model or diagram which will provide an easy overview of the data information and the relationships of your customer. So it's a customer-focused diagram. You try to put down in a diagram what the customer wants to work with in the system, and therefore it's a diagram that the customer can understand. So it is slightly more abstract. It's a more conceptual level, and we have left out some technical details that you are going to need later on, but not in the ER diagram. The point is that this forms the basis for your database. So the data presented in your ER diagram is what is going to end up in your database one way or another, but there are a few steps to get to that point, which is not covered in this video. But we start with the ER diagram. I have here an example of a diagram. This is an ER diagram. It is in UML. You can make ER diagrams in different notation languages, but we use UML here, and we can see various things. This is about books and readers who can read books, and the book is written by an author and is co-authored by authors, and the book is published by a publisher. The readers can review and rate books, and we keep track of when they start reading a book and when they finish reading a book. So that's the concept that we're working with: readers and books and authors and publishers. And then this kind of metadata here. So the diagram consists of entities, and these are my entities. So that's let's call it the basic building blocks. This is what you each entity represents some real world concept, like a publisher and a book, a reader and author. We have attributes. So this is the data on each entity. These are the attributes. I have various types of attributes. You can see some of them has a slash and this thing here and this thing here. Some of them are indented a bit here, so we'll cover that in a later part. We have relationships. So these are the connections between your pieces of data. We have that a reader reads books. We have that a book is published by a publisher, a book is written by an author, and so on. So these relationships here between the entities, which makes us an entity relationship diagram, these are pretty important. And finally, you might put on natural primary keys. So if there is some real world data that can be used to uniquely identify a specific reader, for example, email is a unique thing. No two readers will have the same email. You can put this as a primary key to indicate this is the way to identify a reader. I don't have a primary key on book. I could put ISBN, but I have learned that not all books have an ISBN number, I think. I have put down for the publisher here, I have put this as a candidate key, so maybe this is not the primary key, but I'm fairly certain that publishers will have unique names, so no two publishers can have the same name because that's a registered brand. So you could mark this as a candidate key and saying this here is unique. I don't have anything unique about the author. Maybe website, but that's something that might be a bit strange to use to identify an author, so I put nothing here. And that's why I put natural keys. When you move on to the database, you're going to put IDs on things. The author will have some ID, but that's something we create because of implementation of the database. So it's not a natural thing. That was the primary key. Okay, so this is the diagram that we're going to end up with. There are a bunch of small details that we will cover in the later parts of this video series. So again, we use UML. Don't go and do gen notation or crow's feet or any other kind of notation. In this course, we use UML. That means we don't have any types. There's no string or boolean or integers or anything. Those are implementation details and may vary depending on what kind of database you use. Maybe it's called string in one or text in another and varchar in a third. So those kind of details are not relevant for this diagram. We are modeling the real world, not doing anything technical here, and the customer will probably not care about it. So no types. We don't have anything public or private. There's no plus or minus or hash symbol in front here to say that this is a public attribute. That's not a concept that exists here, so we don't have that. The relationship lines are just a straight line with this reading direction and text on it. There's no arrow at the end. There's nothing in the other end. So this is a relationship. I see often that people try to use associations, which is a line with an arrow, but that's not correct. So this is what a relationship looks like. All right, so that's the overview of what we're going to see in the coming parts. We're going to construct this kind of diagram. All right, see you in the next part.